Welcome back to Metal Massacre. As always, I'm Lucian, the weirdo with a beardo. Dustin's arm is bleeding.
I'm leaking.
What are you doing?
You
just got a new tattoo, didn't you?
I did. Honestly, it's pretty. Not many people do a podcast while they're bleeding actively, but
that's how metal Dustin is, guys. I don't want to hear anybody doubting it.
Yeah, and honestly, I just put it in the elbow ditch of my arm.
Ooh,
it fucking hurts.
That's the worst place in the world, and that's why I've never done it. I've gotten close.
Yeah,
very close, but never the ditch.
Yeah, anywhere, the pinch test, man. Anywhere it hurts more. Yeah, like when you get pinched.
Yeah,
like in the back of the elbow.
It's that sensitive skin too on the inside of your arm that's worse.
Not everybody. Honestly, the cool thing nowadays, and like, you know what I'm saying, like tattoos aren't like, not everyone has them. You know what I'm saying? Like I started so now it's like, before it'd be like, whoa, that guy's got tattoos. That's fucking crazy.
Right.
And even so, like, especially living here in Omaha where we do. I mean, like, it's not like we're a very progressive, modern, million-person city. Don't get me wrong, everybody's got tattoos. But there's also that still Midwestern thing where, like, I walk into a random Casey's general store, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're one of them rock and roll fellas."
you one of them rock and roll fellas.
You know what I mean? Like, again, there's always gonna be a culture divide, but I think, like,
oh my god, real quick, sorry,
kids nowadays don't even have tattoos.
That's so true. It's become more the norm to more the weird thing to not have tattoos, which is just fun to me. Yeah. But that made me think of that fucking lady in St. Joe that was like, "You're a rock and roll guy."
Yeah,
everything's gonna bring that up to me whenever you think of that small town like person that's like, oh, they're in a band. You know, when they look at you.
We did a run with Green Jello last year.
Yeah, we brought that up before.
Yeah, so
that was fun. That was a good time. I love those experiences when we're playing music, when we go to towns we don't live, and we're all just like huddled in a gas station getting burritos, or like checking into a hotel, and people just kind of look at you like, not only are you not from here, but now I want to know what you're doing.
Why are you like, what are you doing?
Who are you? It's a fun, weird experience to have on the road, but
in the case of Green Jello, is like the literal traveling carnival.
That was so funny.
Like, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good time. We're probably gonna always remember that time and reference it because it's just such a fun experience that I'm never gonna forget. Like, St. Joe was so fun, but
little grip it and rip it.
Little grip it and rip it. Cheers, my friend.
Yeah, cheers, man. So speaking of going out on the road, like I said, as of recording, we just did. We got like a 1 week break right now. And of course, I'm going to Colorado to go hike because it's just things work out when they work out, you know?
Yeah.
Like to have a weekend off, but hey, man,
dude,
enjoy it. So we just got done playing Havoc Festival, Heartland Havoc, and Lincoln, which luckily isn't too far from the home, but again, there's like 22 bands. We might have gotten some connections and trying to be talking with some people that were traveling in and get them on the show and that kind of stuff. That was a good time, but little enough about us. Speaking of on the road stuff, because again, when we're recording this, when you guys hear it, you don't need to know, but
it's a secret.
Knotfest has been not my date where we're recording this at, but Knotfest got announced, and it's in late September. But also, more importantly, I mean, it looks like Slipknot's hitting the road with Knocked Loose and Vended and Orbit Culture. I think they're all going to be at like the big ending thing.
Yeah, I think they're ending their tour with Knotfest in Des Moines, so that'll be really cool. I know people have already gotten tickets. It's coming up soon. I'm really happy and hyped that Guar is playing.
Right. And
that's going to be wild.
Right. And I'm mainly bringing this up because of why everyone's bringing it up, especially at this point, is it's an anniversary tour thing.
Yeah.
It's just wild that it's been around 99 to like 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
And like, I mean, and you're what was the one you were going to bring up? Was it Mastodon is coming on tour with
Mastodon and Lamb of God are coming in the fall pretty soon.
Everywhere, I think, though.
Everywhere. I think they're also ending their tour in La Vista, Nebraska, which
pretty cool.
We will not be going to because we're playing another show. But
we're going to go do our own small festival up in like South Dakota.
But yeah, I think it's the what is it?
That's also, you know what it's called?
Ashes of the Leviathan Tour is what they're calling it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because it's both of those albums are on their 20th or 25th anniversary. I forget. Ashes of the Wake and the Leviathan. Excuse me. But yeah, it just kind of got me like weirdly going, dude, everybody's doing anniversary shit now. It's crazy.
We're old.
Yeah, it's wild when like albums grown up on are now like, hey, it's the 20th anniversary of Sacrament. I'm like, what? Like, that's not funny, dude. Like, don't do that. Though. Like, but I do appreciate when bands go back and celebrate that. Like, Slipknot is doing the whole like self-titled album look now with their new drummer, you know, and it's kind of like everyone's like super hyped on it, and I think that the real maggots really enjoy it, and they live for it almost. I think my cat's freaking out if you can hear in the background. There's complaints
to be had. Like, he's going, Knotfest!
He's got shit to say. Yeah, but I love that anniversary content because it not only does it like celebrate what was there before, but like they will add new content to the albums and to like DVD releases, new merch, it kind of just gives you another like feeling you had when the album came out. Yeah.
And you know, if we got some like older listeners that, you know, like maybe you're like my dad's age and that kind of stuff, which again, metal is timeless. So like, you know, obviously the older that you are, the more you're like, amen, brother. No shit. You're young still. Like, I mean, you're seeing like some of these other older bands like really, I mean, Kiss has been on their farewell tour for what, 103 years now. So like, I mean, like, in no shade, I mean, why would you stop if you're having a good time, unless it starts sounding really bad or something, which some of them do at this point, but they still want that payday. I just think it's hitting us harder now in this specific age, and not like now compared to other generations. It's just like seeing these bands that because music has always been huge, and even maybe arguably music, even like especially rock and roll, was like bigger way back in the day, because like it used to be like the most popular thing, not pop, not Taylor Swift, not country, which are like all the biggest rap artists, like that kind of stuff. Now metal is still huge worldwide, but when you talk about American culture, it's a little different. And I think that like it's just weird to think that like Whitechapel was like 20 years ago. Right. You know what I mean? It's weird to think that like in the same way that some of your parents may think about like, oh yeah, you know, like they were only famous when they were like 21 to like 24. They made like 3 good albums. And so then when someone's like, and that album's 20 years old, they're like, what? Yeah. It's not like, oh, Michael Jackson was, you know, like it's like the 50th year after Beat It or what, you know, I'm just spitballing. I don't think the math is right there. But you know what I mean? Like people, it's just different when it's a little bit more like, oh fuck, Slipknot, like they're huge, but you know what I mean, like, oh fuck, Slipknot's been around for 25 years, bro. That I remember like listening to like their influential albums when they came out. I was like a part of it. I was like, that was one of my first big bands I saw, and like now I'm old.
Yeah, it's just crazy, dude. Like,
it's awesome though. In a way, it was awesome.
I really love this kind of stuff, and I think as we're getting older, we're gonna start seeing a lot more of it. Sure. And it's just gonna be crazy when like there's an album that came out after I was out of college, and it's like the 20 or 30 year anniversary of that. You know, like it's just weird to think of. Like, well, and I love that they do it, and I'm just super excited for this year. And pretty soon, Death Clock's going to be having anniversary tours. Right. You know, like, fuck, y'all know how much I love Death Clock, so.
Grandpa, can you play me a song from when you were a kid?
It's just, oh, yeah, it's going to be Moose to Crackish.
Like, yes, I can.
I'm going to break your eardrums, little
Let me show you some Sepultura.
Oh, God. But, yeah, I really love that. I don't know. And it got me thinking, Dusty, like, metal is such an influential genre, and it's something that evolved and took more shapes, and now it has all these subcultures.
That's why we're doing
and
this.
Subgenres and all this different stuff that it has bled into the culture and the zeitgeist, if you will. And it got me thinking, what are things that are metal that aren't just about music? But maybe they are about music, but they're a different medium. Sure. So I kind of went online and I looked up all these metal movies that I had seen in the past. Yes. And I was like, okay, I want to make a ranking. Like, what are the top metal movies or movies that are metal out there? Yeah. So I have the top 10 metal movies, and I thought I would share it here on Metal Massacre. Nice. Figured it was only appropriate.
And we both made our list, and I'll share mine in a little bit too. Yeah. But mine is different. And we have not. And again, mine's actually about video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
Because I'm the video game dork. When we've been doing podcasting for years, forever, that's usually where I went. He's always been the movie guy, comparative to what we do. We both play games. We both watch movies. But
and I feel like music is where we kind of met up.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why we're doing this show right in the middle. So we thought if we don't have an interview today, we're still going to review an album at the end here for you guys. But we thought it'd be fun to run through a couple lists. And I have not seen yours, and you have not seen mine. We have some guesses at probably what each other's personal taste.
I think I've told you a couple that are on the list. I didn't tell you where they were.
Yeah.
I know I at least told you my honorable mention. But yeah, I'm excited.
Go ahead and start with some of the honorable mentions, man.
So yeah, no, I'm just gonna go for the honorable mention goes before number one.
Okay. I like that.
So
I like that move.
These movies are about metal, or they are metal, or they feature metal, or they use metal in some way. Number 10 is Metal Lords. Have you ever heard of this? It was on Netflix, so you might not have watched it.
That's why I've heard of it, but I have no idea in what context.
It's these like high school kids that start a metal band and win Battle of the Bands kind of like story.
Okay.
And it's really fucking cool. And it's honestly, the reason it's 10 is because the content is metal, but it's more of a children's movie with some adult humor, you know, like it's not like, it could have gone further in my opinion.
Sure.
But I think it was a solid representation of the idea of metal and the idea of a metal community. Again, Metal Lords on Netflix. I would honestly say it's one of those ones where if you're at the end of the list, you don't have a lot of metal stuff to like watch anymore, check it out. I think it'll probably ignite like something in you to check out different types of metal too. So.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. Let's see. Next one is Deathgasm.
I have heard of that.
Do you know what it's about?
Not necessarily.
So it's this guy from New Zealand, and he pretty much plays like a evil hymn, and it raises demons and like summons this giant demon to end the world and all this crazy shit, and they have to like undo it with metal. It's pretty crazy.
Undo it.
But it's really raunchy, it's really stupid, it's really gory. Fun fact, they used a lot of the practical effects from Ash versus Evil Dead to make this movie.
That's cool as hell, actually.
They got that stuff from them, like they lent it or just let them have it, and they were like, sure, fuck yeah, we'll make some crazy demons, rip some arms off, and do some fucked up shit. The gore is really cool, the idea is really good, it's metal as fuck, and it's one of the rare movies where I think the way they show new people what metal is very on brand.
Okay.
And it's not like forced. It doesn't feel like the person who made it doesn't know anything about metal.
Sure.
So that was really good. That's why it's the next one on the list. One sec.
So you did like a definitive job of actually like thinking about like
I ranked
this is
them, buddy.
7 and this is why.
Yeah, this one's 9 for that reason, because it's like the more adult version of Metal Lords at 10, and it cranks it up, and the gore is like the perfect chef's kiss to make it even more metal. But like again, it's one of those ones where like you kind of feel like you didn't get enough when you watched it. So you're like, ugh, no, they are making a second one, and that could affect this list for sure.
Of course.
Let's see. 8 is Queen of the Damned. New metal.
Yeah. Thank you. No, but
they featured a lot of new metal in that movie, and not only that, Lestat was in a new metal band.
Okay, yeah.
So like it was very a part of the movie, the music, and they went to this huge festival where they played with like Disturbed and shit. Like I remember that scene as a kid, and all the vampires came out. Like
right.
I thought
good movie
that was
regardless.
Really
I mean, cult classic in a way, but like almost not. It almost like eclipsed into just like an actual classic, even though it's weird. And some of those people are like, oh yeah, I remember that movie.
For sure.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but I know it front to back.
Next one might surprise you.
Okay.
Number 7 is Airheads with Brendan Fraser and Adam Sandler.
Well, it's the same way.
Fuck, what's his name?
I don't want to like foreshadow.
What's his name? No, hold on.
Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. Yeah, those three. Yeah. That's a pretty metal movie.
Yeah, they're the band.
Yeah, it was more on the lighter side of metal, more heavy rock, heavy like.
Sure, but the 80s
idea,
style, like the 80s style, like original power metal stuff. I mean, like it wasn't as heavy as even Ozzy was in the late 60s, 70s, but it's still like that's a definitive branch of angry, loud, fast music.
And this is the one that does the whole like addressing a poser thing.
Oh yeah.
Because towards the end they're like, that's not even your real name, like you made up a backstory, you're not this metal guy. And in the end, like, no one really cared. They just kind of accepted him anyway and were like, you can be Metal Man. like it was pretty cool. So like I think that was really cool because it starts kind of breaking more into the idea of, again, culture and like metal culture and like what it means to be in that scene.
Makes sense.
And Queen of the Damned, I think, was a little less than that just because of the fantasy aspect. The new metal in it was more of just a character. It wasn't really like a theme.
It was, yeah. I would just say it wasn't like a theme of the movie. It was more like that was the broodiness, like the attitude that it wanted to have, and that music just happened to fit that style so well. And then you can play into it and add writing to it. But yeah, the Airhead stuff. It's goofy, but like, yeah, no, it makes sense. It's directly about doing that,
right?
So
number 6, School of Rock.
Okay, yeah,
with Jack Black.
If it wasn't on there, I'd have been kind of upset.
Oh, such a good metal movie.
What do you think I learned what Bass Face was?
Right? We all grew up on that as kids, and I remember watching it when I was younger and just loving the shit out of that movie. And it got me not into metal music, but like it reestablished that love at a young age to where it was just like a done deal. And like everyone wanted to be one of those kids like learning how to play metal with Jack Black.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, dude, I wish I was that kid. Like that would be so fucking cool. I don't know. I think that's really fucking cool. Side note, they meet up on anniversaries and jam and do concerts.
Right.
So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, the guitar kid ended up getting like really good.
Yeah, he can shred.
Yeah, like really, really good at guitar.
I think he just ran with it, man. He was like, Jack Black is a huge inspiration in my life now. Yeah, and I must shred.
Right? One of them was like their Draco Malfoy, where he's like not doing so well now, or you know what I mean?
Oh, I think the drummer passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not trying to make jokes, but just to relate it to people like know what they mean. You know what I'm saying? Because I think because like they did that like Harry Potter reunion too, and I didn't watch it, but there was like everybody's a little bummed about Draco Malfoy.
Yeah,
he's a little. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
again, not to make light of shit. It's not funny. But
it's just like crazy to see those things happen, you know?
Right. And again, it's such a small amount of time.
Yeah.
Young, but still.
Number 5 is Lords of Chaos.
Okay. Yeah.
Very, very, very awesome movie about true Norwegian black metal. And that scene in the late 80s, early 90s, Euronymous, Varg, like all the things that happened with Mayhem, the band. It's just one of those movies where
it's an infamous story, dude. Like everybody that's like, it's like your first ghost story in metal. You know what I mean? Like it's like because I remember hearing about like the guy that ate his face and the pictures
he ate
and
some
like
brains.
Yeah, like everybody's heard that story and bastardized it one way or another, and to like get an actual
it's like folklore at this point. Yeah, it's like a huge part of the black metal scene and the Norwegian metal scene in general. And it's crazy. Like I follow Varg on TikTok because I think he's a crazy person.
Yeah, he is a crazy person.
And I'm just like, I want to watch you.
He's out there.
I want to watch the things you're doing. You're crazy.
TikTok is the human zoo. We know this.
But yeah, Lords of Chaos maybe didn't do the most accurate job of portraying the movie. They of course spun things like a movie does.
Yeah,
like
take some liberties.
They were never going to tell the story 100% the way it was because there were aspects of the story that were not entertaining in that way.
Sure.
So I feel like they completely changed parts of the story that were like very essential, but still a really good movie nonetheless. Yeah. One of the Culkin brothers, Rory Culkin, I think his name is.
Okay.
He plays it. There's so many of them. I feel like there's a new one every day. New Culkin brothers. I'm like, what are there, like 12 of you?
Where are you, Culkins?
Jesus, where are you coming from? Number 4, Pick of Destiny.
Okay.
Another Jack Black film.
But still, I mean, like, honestly,
he's a very metal man.
Yeah, there's like, okay, I'm happy that your list is going in this direction because like there's some stuff that's like inherently brutal.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it just because like, okay, Saw is pretty fucking metal.
Oh yeah, this was never going to be a horror movie.
But exactly, but I mean, like, it's more like, yeah, it's pretty fucking metal. You're ripping people's faces off, but like, is that all that? No, it's more about the feeling. It's in here, buddy.
It's in here, buddy.
It's in here.
Yeah, I think Pick of Destiny is one of those movies. Not only did it have Meatloaf and Dio, but I don't know. I think the whole like story is really metal. The setting is really metal. Yeah. Everything's really metal about it. They even have a song called "The Metal."
Yeah, come on now. You'd be remiss not to add this one to it. It's a story of a kid running away from his small town to go make it big on the beach,
right? And
then live with a scumbag in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment that costs like $9,000 a month.
That
like,
his parents pay for just to try to play shows.
Yeah, dude, that's 80s California metal. I don't know what we're missing here.
I think just an amazing movie. It's also one of those ones that bombed at the box office, but now has a cult following. And I think led to the continuation.
It does feel like a straight to DVD movie, but like it was also because that originally was an HBO show, as a lot of us already know. Yeah. And so it's like to do that. It's kind of like when Death Clock started making movies, or like the Trailer Park Boys started making movies. Like it was already this thing, and now it's like, well, fuck, we should probably do a feature length something, huh? Mm-hmm. And then make like an album around it, and then. Yeah, it's gonna come out, and people that are like Ebert and Rober are gonna be like, "That's a fucking 2 thumbs down for me." But they didn't. Why? It's not for you,
right? Just a great movie overall. I carry the Pick of Destiny in my pocket as a good luck charm sometimes when we play shows.
As you should.
Little side note: no one would ever know that. I have a.
That's where the power's at.
Yeah. That's where my power's at. It's in the Pick of. That's the only reason I can scream. Let's see.
Oh, Ben Stiller was in that movie.
Yes, he played the guitar tech guy. He told him where it was. Yeah. He's like, "What did Papadello tell you?" Like, I fucking love that movie. That was a good Stiller. It's so good. You gotta watch that scene. If you haven't seen Pick of Destiny, just go on YouTube, look up Ben Stiller Pick of Destiny, and watch that scene. It's just like one of his best characters.
Oh, it's great, dude.
Honestly, when I think Ben Stiller, that's like in the top 3 characters.
Blue
I think.
Steel. Crazy hair guy at Guitar Center.
Yeah. and like Tropic Thunder or something. Like, and then like Along Came Polly. There's so many.
Meet the Fockers.
It's definitely one of them.
Fuck, Ben Stiller's so good.
I love Ben Stiller. if Ben Stiller's listening, or anyone that knows him, we love you.
We love you, bud.
Also the people that know him. We just love you still. Let's see. 3. Studio 666.
Okay, yeah. Well, no shit. Yeah.
Not only was it an incredibly metal album that Dave produced, the movie was metal. It was the last thing we got to see from Taylor.
Yeah.
So that's like,
cool.
It's a really cool kind of like capsule of time that you get to hold on to right there. And I immediately bought that. I was like, dude, I need this movie. It's so fucking good.
That and the soundtrack to it became its own actual thing that Dave made and recorded and produced and did. But it is just a haunting, very 70s inspired, but then obviously with a modern twist of being like thrash metal, like the fast paced, very aggressive,
and not just thrash metal, but like evil thrash metal.
Yeah, very evil.
Yeah,
very
like evil sounding. You're like, Dave, how could you do this? Like, if anyone like finds the Dream Widow shit and then doesn't know it's Dave Grohl and then learns it later, they're probably like, oh dear God, if they didn't know about this movie, they'd
I got another confession.
What happened to him? I got another confession to make.
I'm a fool.
That's so funny.
I'm sorry. That was a bad joke. Actually,
that was kind of funny. I'm sorry.
That's your
Dave Grohl jokes are the best, buddy. But yeah, Studio 666, totally recommended if you're a Foo Fighters fan and you want something different from Dave Grohl. This is really it.
It's a great B-rate horror movie. I know with love. Like, it's very self-aware. It knows exactly what it wants to do.
It's got that Scooby-Doo kind of like cheese to it, where it's a little like, zoinks, what are we doing? And like, but then super brutal, and like there's kills in it that are really good. They're scary. The music's really good. If your girlfriend or your wife is like, why do we have to watch this? Tell her it's got
Whitney Cummings,
Wednesday Addams in it.
Yeah.
She's in it. I forget her name. Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
She's got a role in it, and trust me, dude, don't get me wrong. She's in it, but she's in it for like a total of 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it's enough for you to get away with it, to tell your wife to watch it with you. Like,
right.
She's in it a lot. And like, I've never seen it, but I heard she's like one of the main characters. And then just watch it with her. Like, God damn it.
You liar.
You fucking liar. No, really, really, really good movie. I love that the Foo Fighters did that. And man. Again, it's like if you're a Foo Fighters fan, then it's one of those things I feel like you got to experience.
Oh, absolutely.
And it is so fucking metal. That's why it's number 3.
Especially if you like their heavier stuff.
Number 2 is probably a predictable one for me, but it's Army of the Doomstar Metalocalypse.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's
incredibly fucking metal. Just everything it achieves, everything it does. The context of everything, the characters, the battles, the music, the ideas, just like it literally, you could say it almost is a defining metal thing in media.
Sure.
Especially for people that grew up on the show. So that was number 2 for me, slightly above Studio 666. Now it's time for my honorable mention before I get to number 1.
Okay.
Honorable mention is not really something that fits into this list. It's a movie that not by definition is metal, but by execution and by setting and just almost every single thing. It's Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah.
So fucking metal. Are you kidding me? Even down to like the shardy and chrome. Like, they're like hot rod fucking crazy dudes
Motorhead
that are like
dicks.
half dead and like praise this dude as like a god going to Valhalla. And like everything about it is super metal, from the lore to the characters to the setting.
It just doesn't
Everything,
have the,
dude, like-
it's just not supposed to be, I guess not supposed to be, still like the wrong wording there, but
Right.
like,
It's not meant to be a heavy metal movie,
but it doesn't do an homage to it the way that all of those products that you just gave did.
it fits the culture so well.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, if you go to like a Mad Max Wasteland event in like California or something, all those people probably know like a bunch of metal songs
Sure.
or like bands or like probably play metal or like,
Again, yeah. And
it's
when
just
we-
part of those. It's like hand in hand, man. It's like bikers and Roadhouse rock. Like, those two things just go hand in hand.
Right.
You know, like
again, it's if you're a biker and you saw a guy in a biker jacket, you'd be like, bro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless obviously they're rivals, but that's not the point. But I mean, like when a metalhead sees like if you're at Qdoba
yeah.
and you're just in line and some guy walks in and he's wearing a Deicide shirt, you'd be like, bro.
Or like wearing his battle vest too.
Yeah, you're
And
both
you're like, what's up?
You look
Cool.
like, yeah, you just kind of give the
Yeah.
nod.
It's the
The
culture,
nod of
man.
we understand.
Yeah. And I feel like that's one of the only communities that truly kind of gives that respect anymore, anyways. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get it on video games. You don't get it in a lot of other cultural things that happen, but music really bonds people that way. And metalheads, there's a respect in society between us. Like, you're right, in the wild, because we're like, dude, that no one else gets this. You fucking get it.
I know, you know.
And it's so satisfying to have that kind of thing that like you kind of have to like learn about to get, or you either do or you don't, you know. But yeah, Mad Max Fury Road,
Good honorable
such
mention.
a metal movie. If anyone's ever seen it, even if you're not a metal fan, or you are, like, try to tell me that's not metal.
Try.
That's so hardcore metal, dude.
Pitch your
Everything about
argument.
it. I don't even need to go into further detail. That's just it. But number 1,
All right.
what I think, and this might be a controversial one, Dusty, to be honest with you, I don't know how you're going to feel about this. American Satan.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna Google it on my trusty computer over here and just show you some stuff.
Okay. No, I mean, like, it seems like I should be ashamed, or maybe I might know it when I see it. 2017.
Yeah.
Is it like a musical or theatrical or something, or is it?
So I'll play the trailer here on mute, so we don't get any
Yeah.
copyright shit. But it's Andy Black from Black Veil Brides, a couple other musicians from other bands, and it's this story of these kids that try to go to Los Angeles to like start playing music for real, and they end up making a deal with this guy who they don't know at the time is the devil, and he makes them famous, but then it's all fucked up and crazy and like.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm seeing it.
It's got Malcolm McDonald.
Yeah, Malcolm.
Malcolm McDowell. Why did I say McDonald? I always want to say McDonald. He plays the
Michael
devil.
McDonald.
And it's got a couple other pretty recognizable people in it. But I think it's a really good look at L.A. and the music scene in L.A. Like the Whiskey Go-Go, the Rainbow Bar and Grill, places like that are featured. Like,
Yeah, I've
it's
already
just a
seen
really
them.
fun little movie. They tried to make a spin-off TV series of it, but unfortunately the main character passed away, so they were like, we're not going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It's called Paradise City. Randy Blythe was in it.
Okay.
He was like one of the characters in it. But
Yeah, I recognize a lot of these actors.
right. It's a really, really good movie. It kind of like got me into wanting to play music again. Like before we even started talking about me being in Molten, I watched this movie nonstop and was just like, dude, this is so fucking cool. Like, not that I want to make a deal with the devil or anything. I'm not saying that, but like just
bring it.
Getting a look inside that culture and that life and that community.
Sure.
And like, even if it's not like 100% real, like, yeah, sure. But It's
gotta be
entertaining as
sensationalized
shit,
and
dude.
interesting.
It's
but-
Goldberg's in it.
Yeah,
He's their
I was like, is that
security
Bill
guard.
Goldberg.
It's fucking Goldberg, bro. Like, it's so funny. But it's a really good movie. It ends really well. It's got a really good premise. The twist is good. Yeah, really good. It's got the I forget her name. The girl from Starship Troopers. That was the girl that like dumped him.
Okay.
Denise Richards.
Okay.
She's the mom. Like, it's just got a bunch of like pretty recognizable people in it. And I think if you're a metal fan and you're looking for something that's kind of exciting but makes you really feel it, American Satan could possibly be the most metal movie I've ever seen.
It looks, again, like, without hearing a lot of it, but I can kind of get the vibe. Like, again, yeah, no, it's, I wouldn't argue with you on that one. Like, again, yeah, it's supposed to be, it makes sense for number one, because it's not like, yeah, it plays on that theme, but then it might come back to it, or no, like, that's literally what this whole fucking thing's about.
It's honestly the only thing that led Lords of Chaos away from the one spot was the fact that it was not as realistic, and the changes they made weren't considered in my eyes to be metal.
Sure.
Like, this is a fictitious story, so you really can't base it off of fact and in your determination of how metal it is.
No, but then to, like, actually just continually nail on the head a lot of the things that are like recurring themes and like being right on the ballpark of where you want to be with it without, again, because it is a fictional story, but being true to form, then no, that's no complaints from me. And if it's your number one, I guess I'll have to check it out. Fuck. Like,
dude, I'm telling you, it's super good.
Ugh. I'm still leaking over here, bro.
Ew.
Going through a whole napkin and a half. No, man, good list. Lots of things. Like, I think I've seen like 8 out of the 10 of those though. So like, definitely agreeable. I have no qualms.
If you check out any of these movies and you like them, or hey, you don't even like them at all, you're like, that's not metal. You're wrong. Let me know. Comment on our Spotify. Comment on our Instagram. Metal Massacre podcast. Hey, we're even on TikTok, man.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that, but apparently one of our dudes made it. I don't know.
Very
but
nice.
Put a bunch of cool stuff on it. If you're interested in supporting the podcast at all, shop.herdatmedia.com/collections/ Metal Massacre.
Oh, it doesn't matter. And it's where we have our thing.
It takes forever to say.
Through our first season right now, we don't have our own website creator. We're, like I said, we're under the Herdat blanket, and thank you. I appreciate it.
We love you guys at Herdat. Thank you for letting us do this. We have a lot of fun stuff planned for this, and I don't know, man. I'm just really excited to see where we can go.
Lots of really great interviews. Already kind of like, we have a couple that are scheduled, a couple already canned. And then on top of that, like I said, yeah, but besides the shop, you know, we're working on getting a YouTube page that we're, again, spilling stuff and not making any promises at all whatsoever. We're thinking about possibly putting it on YouTube and making a video portion of this after the next season. There are things, like I said, we've heard some great feedback already over in just one episode, and mainly locally, but we've gotten some love from a little bit of places everywhere. And a lot of people are like, oh, dude, is this just an audio only? Can I find it on where can I find it? And we're everywhere right now. But
we're working on stuff. It's just going to be audio only for this first season. We just want to focus on getting you guys the best interviews, the best reviews we can, and let the rest come as it comes.
Fun stuff like this when we don't have an interview to do.
We'll move into more video content probably within season 2. And we do have some select video content on its way. So stay tuned for that for sure.
Absolutely.
But Dustin, I know you got a list too, and what was yours? The most metal soundtracks to video games?
Okay, so
was that what it was?
Let me get in the weeds here.
Oh God, he's digging.
So what I have is 2 different lists, and I'll run through these a little bit quicker. I'm not going to review them, but it's because a lot of these are just, it isn't necessarily the culture because it's a video game. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it can be, and there's certain video games that definitely have that aspect to them, which we'll get into because I don't want to use any examples because a lot of them are in the list. But here's the thing. I was going to say it. People are already like, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk. Yes. Those aren't on this list, and here is why.
Dustin.
Top video game metal soundtracks.
So that was a list. Okay.
So in this case, I have a list of games that have actual music in it bought and paid kind of thing. And I have just a quick 4 that like I really thought did a great job of that, which obviously is basically the entire Tony Hawk series.
Nice.
And obviously, besides the fact that I just put a lot of metal in there, it turned me on to a lot of like Immortals and like all these other hip hop and R&B and rap groups that had like the edgy street East Coast style of hip hop that like I love, and I'm honestly like, again, just as much as a savant as that as I am with this.
Yeah.
And that's honestly where that started, was like my brother and some of my friends always listening, and like growing up where I did, the areas that I did, there's just a lot of hip hop. Like mainly everyone I knew that I listened to rap besides me and my dad.
Yeah.
And so like then when Tony Hawk came along in 99 and I'm 7 years old and it's the coolest fucking thing on the planet. I have to shout out Tony Hawk. That's like not even an honorable mention. He's getting his own category here is what I'm saying. Like, because then that influenced so many other games. And there were ones before that. There's a game called Splatterhouse that actually used a whole bunch of like Paranoid by Blacks. And it was all like 8-bit, like den, 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 like the whole time. That's all it was. But like there's been licensed music in the video games for actually a lot longer than people think.
For sure.
Which is really cool. But Tony Hawk is like the, come on. Like that's the one that
it's
really
the creme de la creme to general podcast or general soundtracks to games for sure.
But then obviously Twisted Metal.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Great songs, Dragula, like all that kind of shit. Like that just, I could go on, but that was like the big one.
I think it was
there.
Twisted Metal 4, and they changed the controls completely, but the music was so banging that I didn't care.
Right. Like the game sucked, but god damn it slapped. It was a free mix CD.
I was like, I'm just going to put this on, man.
Yeah, Twisted Metal Black was great. Guitar Hero. Yeah. I mean, that's how I learned. That's how we learned about Death
Let me
Class.
ask you this. Which Guitar Hero?
I want to just say like 1, dude. Ooh. Like right off the top, just like 1, 2. Honestly, all of them.
I think 2 was the best one, the Legends of Rock one or whatever it was. Because it had like a more diverse soundtrack, I think, and it was more metal based than anything else.
Yeah, because like number 1 had a lot of like your typical standard hits, like old songs and Freebird shit like that. Which Freebird's fucking metal. I don't give a shit. Guitar Hero, Rock Band, all of those. So that's what I was like. Hey, I don't want to say that's a cop out, but I just want to get that out at the top because I just want to tell you that's not going to be in the list, and that's why is because it's music bought and paid for. There are a couple of things in my actual list that have some like licensed bands and music to it, but we'll get into why they're in there differently than something that's just like this is a really really good mixtape. So, and I'll do the same thing. I'll get all the way down to 1, and then we'll do the honorable mentions because a lot of people will probably already know what 1 is.
Right.
At 15, I went through 15 of these fuckers.
Oh God.
Did some research.
Okay,
Dynasty
let's
Warriors.
get into it. Ooh, okay.
So Dynasty Warriors is based on like the Chinese like dynasty area like of time when there was a lot of like warring and dueling.
Yeah.
The entire thing is I can't remember if it was a Japanese company that made this. I think it was Bandai Namco. I'm not going to do the notes on all 15 of these games and waste time, but like, it's very like Japanese European power metal. Like the entire time you're just like, it's just fast, really trebled out guitars, like very 80s style, but just fast, loud, swishing guitars with like pretty quick drums, no blast beats, but like again, like 80s power metal.
Yeah.
No vocals, just instrumental tracks on a loop. But that's the only thing there is like fast paced guitar music the whole time.
That's so rad, but it's also probably really anxiety driving.
Yeah, because it's a weird game. It's very like if you've never played Dynasty Warriors, you pick a commander. There's like a bunch of different factions. You pick a commander, and then you go through that story of that commander trying to basically conquer a board of area. Yeah, the game was huge in the 90s. There's been like 15 of these things. 15 Dynasty Warriors, I think, is actually where we're at. But yeah, it's really good game series, really fun. Button masher, like you just go out there and you pick your favorite character. You command little hordes of computer AIs to fight against each other while you are out there just trying to like smash. You go in combos of like 100 kills or more at a time.
That's pretty.
It's very
metal.
like again like an open world kind of thing. But yeah, next. 14, Wolfenstein 2. An ID software. ID made Doom and all those other games too. But like, so this is all it wasn't Mick Gordon, who's didn't write the original like Doom stuff, or any of the Wolfenstein things, but was famously there for that. But Wolfenstein 2, it doesn't. I put that way back because the songs that are there that are metal are really good and really powerful, really heavy, very modern. But most of the game isn't that the whole time. Like a lot of the game is like marching themes and like, you know, battle music that has like a lot of horns. It's more akin to like fucking Lord of the Rings than it is like metal, even though that's pretty heavy. Sure. Oh, there goes your phone. But the songs that are there are great, but there's really not that much metal like overall. So moving on, I just thought this one was fun, and I put it probably honestly deserves to be farther forward, but again, being the caveat that I just talked about earlier, that's why at 13 is the game Homefront. Which is like a you know, dystopian, the world fight against each
that's
other.
like the Red Dawn movie.
Yeah.
But I remember that. Yeah.
Every single song on the OST is a cover of something either not metal or like old school.
Yeah.
By like the Acacia Strain did War Pigs.
Yeah, I remember hearing this. Yeah.
Like
that's so cool.
Oceano did like an Alanis Morissette song.
What?
Like something just like the most like disparaging ones, but it's like heavy as fuck. Like the whole thing is honestly like of all this entire list, besides like maybe 2 other games, this is the heaviest, like the most brutal death metal on this entire list. And they're all really good. It probably deserves to be higher, but again, I went with like the in my head like, hey, this is a bunch of covers done by licensed music by a band, but I just thought it was so unique and it's so powerful and well done. Yeah, it's at 13.
Oh yeah.
12, Dragon Ball Z Fighters. It's again your Japanese style power metal. I'll skip over a couple of these that have very similar themes, but honestly, the way that the title music, from the title music themes to, because it has like one theme for the title music, one theme for picking your characters in a fighting game, then one, and like each one of the stages has a different. They're all just fast-paced Dragon Force style.
Oh, cool.
Like just blazing ass guitar. The whole thing is a 3-on-3 fighter, and so you're going like you're flipping between 3 characters and doing. It's one of the most like, don't play this if you're sensitive to lights. Don't play this game. Right. But like the music matches that like note for note, and
that's cool.
It's really good. So that's a game that me and Native played a lot of. I know my buddies. And even actually the other day, it's a 6-year-old game or 6 or 8-year-old game at this point. They're thinking about making another one, but we still boot it up every now and again. So we both keep it downloaded. So we're getting through the top 10. So now here at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh, good choice. They made a fictitious band for that. Yeah, called Star-Lord.
You would probably know more about this than I would. That's why I wanted to
have that on my Spotify. That's so good.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised as someone who's not the biggest comic book guy, and like kind of knew that it was. I knew about this, but I wasn't sure how cheesy it would be. And I figured there would be, people love cheese. I figured there needed to be something.
Yeah, there's got to be some cheese.
But I actually went through and just clicked through. I found like that YouTube is such an easy commodity nowadays where you can just be like, and give me the OST, and then it's broken up track by track for you in a nice list. So I listened to like I think like at least about a minute of each one of these like 10 tracks on it. So I spent like at least like 10-15 minutes listening to this thing. Great. I thought it was really cool. The ballads that they did were good. Like the songs, the choices, how it fit.
Yeah,
and
very 80s hair metal.
All original. Very 80s hair metal, very power and like driven and like want to like, you know, obviously
look at you, Cleveland.
Yeah, that shit. So like, but hey, that's a huge portion of metal. There's your hair metalers too, and like nice. I like them all. So that was 15, 14, 13, 12. That was a lot. 11. But again, honestly, I was highly impressed, but it just, again, was not, and maybe I'm being a little biased because it's not like my favorite style of metal, but I love me some Skid Row. Don't get me the fuck wrong. Like, I love shit like that. So, I mean, I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. Highly recommend. Save it to your Spotify. Like, straight up, it's just a good listen.
It does make the game that much more enjoyable as well. So, I'll say that.
Coming at 10, we're going to move a little bit faster again because this is we don't have a time limit. I ain't got nowhere to be, but Final Fantasy. Not the first one. Just the whole series.
The whole series.
Because there's fucking 28,000
It all counts as one.
And also, again, like Final Fantasy.
I didn't know there was a lot of metal music in Final Fantasy.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, buddy.
Ooh, buddy. You're in for it. Now, is it going to be your favorite style again? No, it's
Probably
that very,
not.
like, I keep on using it, but like the Japanese, European power metal fast. Very 80s, very like, I'm wearing a leather jacket kind of metal. But like...
I'm wearing a leather jacket. I'm chewing a toothpick kind of metal.
There's a lot of like really good orchestral score. Like Final Fantasy is most known for like their orchestral scores, and like it almost won Soundtrack of the Year at the Game Awards last year. And the original games in the early 90s were like, it's 92 I think was the first Final Fantasy, as old as we are about. But like that was all 8-bit music, and it wasn't. There's metal covers of it. Sure, people on YouTube being like, I made Final Fantasy 1 metal. I'm like, okay, that's great, cool. But like, no, once you get, though, into, like, the PS3 era of games and farther forward, it's just a fucking metalcore symphony. That's all that thing is blazing, really good original writing from the composers and the people that are making these orchestral things. They're much like Mick Gordon, again, from Doom, like, who's a composer by nature, just hired to do something, like... That's what it is. And all the boss battle, pretty much every boss battle from PS3 on is some... crazy fast speed metal blast beat like Dragon Force kind of like essence kind of quick. But so as a series, I did it no justice because there's fucking 27 games, but scooping it together, so I put it at 10 because I'd say maybe like a fourth to half of it is metal, but what's there is really good. Cool. Really, really good.
That's badass. I like that.
9, the original Devil May Cry.
Okay.
The OST was made by Combat Christ.
Ooh.
Like, they did the whole thing.
That's cool.
And it's got vocals, it's got screams, it's just a Combi Christ album.
Hell yeah.
So, snuck one of those in there. I'm just going to leave it at that. You can go search the album alone, and it has like a big seal on it that says like official OST of Devil May Cry, like the first one when they were trying to get really
That's really
heavy.
cool. I like when they do crossovers like that.
It was, and it's just a good... thrashy old school 80s 90s like that heavy industrial style of metal. It's really good. Excuse me. Moving in, Killing Floor 2. Now Killing Floor 2 is like one of those games much like Manhunt back in the day where they're like this shouldn't be allowed to be played. Like it's a little too bloody, it's a little too heavy for like anybody, and it's just because of the time and like what was going on. But let me tell you something, it's got a 9 out of 10.
Let me tell you something,
it's like rated a 9 out of 10 pretty much for every outlet. It was in 2009's Killing Floor was released, and then this came out in like 2015. It's just brutal for the sake of being brutal, but there's a composer called Synthetic that made all original songs for this thing, along with getting a couple licensed songs to get in there. I think Biohazard and Municipal Waste are in this game as well. And then all the rest of the songs pretty much sound like those two bands, but like written by a composer. Yeah. The entire thing, including vocals, including lyrics, with a lot of times video game music is instrumental. It's brutal. It's really good. It's kind of niche, and it's an afterthought to the gameplay that's happening on the screen. So that's honestly why it's kind of as far back as it is. Yeah. But it's still definitely in the top 10. It's awesome. It's fucking like your crusty thrash the entire time, and you're just murdering people ruthlessly for like the entire game, which is like 20 hours long. That's all crazy. You're doing. Next, which we're getting into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You should have numbered them, Dusty.
I know, I should have. I was looking at tabs. I'm on a Google Doc that's tiny as fuck. Metal Hellsinger. That's what this one comes in.
Ooh, yes.
So
thank you for saying that.
I only put it as far back as 8 is because, again, it's not that it's not. These are all original songs being sung by people like from Spirit Box or Ginger. I mean. And they have Serge Tankian.
Blythe.
Yeah, Randy Blythe is in it.
It's this band called Two Feathers, or a person called Two Feathers, that does all the music, and then they just get vocalists to do it.
And it's a rhythm-based metal game. That's really all it is like trying to kill stuff and do things like kind of like that Hi-Fi Rush. That was a rhythm game that came out last year. Not metal at all. It's very Scott Pilgrim-y. But that kind of style, because that game's more popular, so something to compare to. You're doing rhythm activities to try and stay on beat, to get better combos, to kill more enemies, to do stuff like that. But it's all voiced and sung by like very popular people within the metal community right now.
And don't quote me, But I'm pretty sure Sam Elliott is like the voice that talks to you the whole game.
Sounds like him.
He's like, hello there. You know, however he fucking sounds. Which kind of makes me enjoy the game that much more. I haven't beaten it yet. I think I beat the Randy Blythe level for sure, but it's one of those ones that I get really frustrated with, so I'll play it for a while and then I'll just be like, fuck it, dude, I'm gonna play something else. Like, right. But the soundtrack makes you want to play. You're like, what's the next song? You know,
yeah, and they're all like really, really good. There's a lot of metalcore kind of aspects to it, and modern programmed canned drums and that kind of stuff, but it's really good.
I really wish they would release that soundtrack on Spotify. It's not anywhere. No, you have to have the game to listen to the music. You cannot stream it.
Good for them.
I mean, I get it, dude, but it's so good. You gotta share it with people.
Fucking come on, man.
Like, come on, man.
Buy the game. Next is a game that probably a lot of you don't know. It's called Valfaris.
Never heard of it.
Now, Valfaris is a 2D side scroller. Okay. It's very much like a Hollow Knight,
and it's got metal.
That's the whole thing.
It's just all metal.
You're just a big Viking dude.
Nice.
And that's all you're doing is smashing little people. But like, basically, I mean, like, now, that's a layman's term. I earnestly and honestly want to tell you all that you should just go play this game. It's relatively cheap. I think if I'm looking it up, like, live right now, first of all, again, it's like 4.5 out of 5, 85%, 9 out of 10. Like, people like this game. 2D action game made by Steel Mantis. It's on the Switch. It's probably like $20, something like that. But Therion, a warrior who returns to his home of Alfaris and finds that it's evolved in chaos. He goes on to find out what happens, and in its wake, destroy demonic inhabitants and kill his dad in the process.
Oh, geez, that's brutal.
So, yeah, it's just... the reception was honestly really good. It's... Again, video games usually go with that faster paced style of metal, not always thrash, but like a very, you know, like metal is quick generally too. Not, I mean, sludge metal, doom metal, stoner metal, that's different, but like, it just sounds like straight up like an old Havoc album. Like, it's gnarly. It sounds like, and sometimes it gets slow and heavy like Death, like that old band, stuff like that too. But yeah, it's melodic when it needs to be. It's fast and like very Megadeth kind of where it needs to be, but then it's also just brutal and heavy and guttural where it needs to be. It moves in all different styles of it, and I was pleasantly surprised just looking through some of it that I actually went out yesterday, bought the game. I was I was like, this is really fucking cool.
That's cool, man. I like that.
So I'm gonna go buy this. Next, Guilty Gear, the entire series. Fuck it. There's like 10 of those fighting games, and I remember we were driving to our show in Lincoln a couple weeks back, and I was like, can we just admit that Guilty Gear has one of the best fighting game soundtracks of all time? And like put it on, and some dude just being like, you can smell like fucking it's like Smell of the Game or something is like their latest single for Guilty Gear Strive that came out last year. But like it's heavy as fuck, and it's like Daisuke something. I can't remember his last name. I remember his first name is Daisuke, but he's made he got hired to do all of the Guilty Gear games as far back as like the early thousands, and she's just been doing them. They're all on Spotify. They're all cool. Really good. If you like, go Google that one.
Yeah, check them out.
It's a silly name, Smell of the Game, but like it's
Smell the Game.
Yeah, it's honestly, it fucking rips. It's a great song, and then the entire, again, from the menus to the character selector to the themes, every single thing has a different one, and they rotate quite a bit, and they're all different various versions of, like, obviously kind of focused to be a video game soundtrack, and they're, you know, they get kind of 8-bitty and a little bit, you know, goofy sometimes, but the most part of it is, again, just to be from like on certain characters levels where they're like, there's a demonic doctor and his like almost like sludgy black metal kind of stuff, and then like there's a guy that's like a sharp pool player and his more Roadhouse kind of shit, like more Motorhead, like all, but it's all in that vein, like it all hits all of those areas really good. Next, we're finally getting the top 5. Brutal Legend, there it is.
Yes,
there it is. There's for you.
Thank God.
Brutal Legend is my number 5.
Thank God.
Another Jack Black property. We are big fans.
Jack Black is...
Mr. Black is a good friend of ours.
He's like a very big inspirational icon for this show.
He really is, dude.
Honestly. Like, we should just do a show about Jack Black, to be honest.
Just
how
get him
metal
on this show.
God, I wish. If anyone knows Jack Black or how to get in contact with him, tell him Metal Massacre needs to talk business.
Big biz.
We need to talk, all right?
I feel like Brutal Legend deserves me going over it, but honestly, need I say more?
It's the Tony Hawk of metal.
Need I say more?
It's got everything from Death Clock to Motorhead to Black Sabbath to like heavier stuff like Manowar. Like,
but then also the reason why you're like, well, doesn't that break your rule, Dustin? Yes, but plenty and plenty and plenty of original tracks and original things and great themes, and there's a whole album you can just go look up online.
Yeah,
some of it's vocalized, some of it's just instrumentals.
Yeah,
there's an entire album they built around this thing as well.
Yeah, the score is really good.
The score, yes, and it's really heavy good. And it's fun and it's lighthearted where it needs to be.
Yeah,
but
dude, great. There
is that goofiness to again, like the culture, like we've said.
It's one of those rare ones on the list that not only is the soundtrack metal, the game is completely metal.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
It's not just that the music is super metal; it's that this is a metal game.
I remember our buddy Steve would make fun of me because of it when you would get the. Like when you had the little minion guys that would roll around with you, like when you start collecting them, and then you just have like 9 of them running around. They're just like some bulky looking dude with a backwards hat, headbanging,
with like
long
a thick
hair.
Neck, just headbanging nonstop.
He's like, "Look, it's a bunch of Dustins."
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, oh fuck, man!
I think Anna said that the first time she saw me play it. She's like, "It looks like Dustin."
Just a bunch of Dustins running around. Like, yeah,
it's so funny.
Yeah, no.
We should make a shirt where you're just the fucking headbanging dude, and I'm Eddie Riggs.
Yeah. There's just like 19 of me and then one of you on a rock. Like, we should do that. Absolutely.
That'd be so great. Scott Miller, please do it.
Because, and honestly, that's why I was like, and this isn't a shot at it by any means, but there are games like, again, Guardians of the Galaxy and Homefront where I feel like maybe arguably by my own rules they should be all the way this high up in that spot, but no, like what Brutal Legend is and does, and because of how, again, it has this following. It's not just Jack Black, but it is that charm.
Yeah.
It's one of the better video games that and really what solidified it for me is I was doing research on everything that I was clicking from other people's lists to just looking through Wikipedias to anything. Everybody had this game on the list. So I was like, it's got to be at the very least in the top 5.
Yeah.
And even like for no thought of my own, I was like, I'm going to break a rule of my own, I guess, by making like these bands, how you can go over here, this goes over here. No, top 5, no question. But need I say more? But top 4. Metal Gear Rising, number 4. The entire thing is just like, even it's become memed at this point that
how metal it is, or what? That
Metal Gear Rising is really just a metalcore album with a video game on it. Like, it's not a game that happens to have a metalcore album. No. It's the other way around. The album is arguably better than the game, and the game is great. Nice. And I really don't have much more to say. It is in the metalcore vibe. It is very, again, a lot of these companies that make that's a it's a Kojima thing, but like I can't remember originally who Capcom owned Snake and like some of the Metal Gear stuff. It's convoluted because there's so many. Metal Gear is the most fucking, besides Kingdom Hearts, Metal Gear is like the most convoluted story in all of video games. Like, Big Boss killed the Big Snake, who was the Big Hoss, who was the Snake Boss, who was the Big Hoss, who was the guy.
And now you get to face Ross.
Yeah, like what, dude? Like, they all rhyme, and it's ridiculous. And then there's a guy named Ocelot Prime. Like, I don't like it. Dude, like, I don't know. So like,
but you're telling me the soundtrack's metal.
It's in my top 4.
Okay.
Like, it's good. It's really, really good, and the game is fun too. I love the Metal Gear games.
Hell yeah. Okay, so what's number 3?
Ooh, F-Zero X. So,
don't know what this is.
You do. It's Captain Falcon.
Oh, okay.
Way back. F-Zero was like the small little known fact that I've brought up on not this podcast, a different one. When the Super Nintendo in 1991 released, do you know what 2 games it released with?
No.
Super Mario World
and
F-Zero.
Okay.
And now F-Zero was the racing game that you're in a little capsule pod and you're driving and you can take damage, and it's honestly really difficult. That game has some iconic, if you just ask me where are the best video game soundtracks of all time, there'd be some Zelda stuff in here.
Sure.
There'd be some other shit, but like F-Zero has like some of the best music in all the video games, along with like Chrono Trigger, along with like all these other ones that I'm a big nerd about, but they aren't metal. F-Zero X was one of the last, if I believe not the last game in the F-Zero series, which has been kind of dead, minus Captain Falcon being in all the like the Super Smash Brothers games. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Just go look it up. F-Zero X. It is my the 3rd best metal album of all time in video games. It's just good. It's just good, and it makes you want to drive fast, and it makes you want to fight hard. It's a good time. And again, it is a bit video gamey. That's why people are like, "You're telling me that F-Zero X is better than fucking Tony Hawk?" probably not. But that's because, again, this is all just original stuff written by Nintendo's team.
Yeah.
They're like, this is metal as fuck. This is the heaviest shit I've ever heard in my life.
That's awesome.
On a video game.
Hell yeah.
No, actually, I can't count.
Number 2.
That was number 2.
That was
We're one behind because I have this thing.
Damn, you fucking me up, bud.
I know this thing had like a big. So everybody,
this is your final.
yeah, everything that I told you was 4 was actually 3, and 3 was actually 2.
Okay,
sorry, but honorable mentions before we get to number 1 because everybody knows what number 1 is. Everybody knows what number 1 is.
Your countdown is so funny. You have such a shattered countdown. You're like, wait, no.
7.
I love it.
There's 23.
Wait, no, that's 6.
Sorry.
I love it.
I'm just gonna read them from the top. No,
We're gonna start all over again. Stay with us, guys.
I'm gonna need you to sit in place. We gotta retape. Now, honorable mentions. I just wanted to say that there's a really good. Again, this doesn't count because they're not in the game, but people have taken things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 and made it into a metal cover, and fucks hard. It's one of those like it's on Spotify. Just I think it's called like Shell Shocked or something because they say that in the game all the time.
Yeah,
he named his little band that, and it's literally just him covering a whole bunch of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade video game music, and it was just like with like full revamped guitars and down tune music. It's great. Now that one was the catalyst for like a few others where Castlevania has a boatload of metal covers online. Mega Man X should have been in this list, and it's the real honorable mention because Mega Man X in specific actually had some like heavy, cool guitar.
Yeah.
And like, but it wasn't as good as any of the other ones that actually made the list.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It is really heavy and definitely has like some sort of metal. But Mega Man in general has a shitload of covers of people taking like stuff that was just 8-bit music and making it heavy. Same thing with Zelda. Same thing with Pokemon. Same thing with Metroid. Like every one of your Nintendo properties. If you're a fan of any of that music or you're interested in it or you want to find it, just go on, dude, just go search it. And there's a cover of somebody with a beard playing Zelda metal covers, and it's going to be awesome.
Probably 100 of them.
But then I had 3 honorable mentions. I just wanted to get those out of the way because again,
I was like, which one's your number 1?
No, because like I said, I had the people that are like, these are bought and paid music. These are like people that cover these things, and I feel like all of those are the best properties for that.
Sure.
But Mega Man X would be like the number 3 honorable mention.
Okay.
Number 2 would be Duke Nukem.
Okay.
Because again, the guy is that like chewing bubblegum and kicking ass.
Hell
like,
yeah.
America first, big boobs.
America!
Like, yeah, like that kind of shit. A lot of the game honestly didn't have very much metal music. Not in the same way that you could tell that even though like the first like couple of games that like Wolfenstein had were supposed to be, they were just like 8-bit. It was a little bit different. But Duke Nukem had like a lot of like weird experimental and industrial sounds and songs, and had like 9 Inch Nails covers in it and stuff like that too. But it was, and it's heavy, but just didn't breach it for me. But the number 1 honorable mention is Halo 2.
Ooh.
Halo 2 is honestly the whole time is just like drumline and guitars.
Hell yeah.
And again, is it like the best experience? Well, no, I didn't make it. But like honestly, Halo, like the Halo exploding and you're just listening to like an orchestra with like tuned ass guitars and like driving a warthog at 100 miles an hour while stuff explodes. It's like, dude, I was a 12-year-old hyped up on Code Red. That was the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like it's still to this day. I love that. Number 1 is Doom. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Which Doom?
All of them. No.
Which one's your favorite soundtrack though? I like Eternal.
2016. Yeah.
Okay.
The first one, just because it has like rip and tear, and it has like fucking I can't remember the names of them now. It's like BFG Division, and like there's a few of them that I even knew by name. And granted, the album itself is a lot of like the cutscenes in it.
Yeah.
But there's never been a better instance of just heavy fucking metal in your face.
So good, and it's one of those ones. It's very similar in the way of Hellsinger, Metal Blade Hellsinger, when it changes dependent on what you're doing. So like they wrote it in a way where it's like, oh, you're gonna do this, it's gonna get more intense. You're gonna do this, it's gonna chill out. Like,
and I like that. So amazing how it does that. Where you're just like after you finally kill a billion things and you play it on hard, and there's like 20 minutes of chaos, then it's just like, just basically like you walk out of a room and you realize there's just ammo and there's actually nothing to do. There's no enemies, there's no monsters, there's no aliens, but there's just this constant like dun-dun-dun-dun with like toms the whole time.
You're like, oh my god, this is still foreboding as hell.
Somewhere eventually they like look around the corner and then it's just Mick Gordon standing at the end of it going like
he's like, you ready for the next level?
No.
Like, no,
please.
Doom is it's such a good soundtrack.
Eternal is arguably better because it actually, as a soundtrack, has like, if you look at it on Spotify, it has like more actual like metal tracks, like more songs. Some of the other ones are just like weird, like kind of from the 2016 soundtrack, are just kind of like, that's where you met the fucking alien guy, Dr. Samuel Hayden, and he's talking to you about like why you shouldn't be blowing up Mars, or whatever, and it's just kind of like weird, like industrial, like glitches and chainsaw noises and sounds, but. Yeah, like again, I could go over some of the crazy stuff. He tuned this thing in A. It's tuned way the fuck down. It's like bent to hell. It's on like a custom proprietary 9-string guitar or something. Like half of the noises that are sampled are from a chainsaw.
That's so
from
cool.
An actual chainsaw being hit against metal or against bricks or like being like revved to like do stuff. That's like half of the actual like effects noises that he's like put phasers and effects on to make it sound like boom, like big bass drops and stuff instead. What more do you want? Doom is
so
the
metal,
best,
dude.
The best fucking video game soundtrack of all time.
I love that so much.
But
that was a very good list. Even though you confused me a couple times.
Yeah.
I came out of it very happy with because it started on one end of things. It's very Japanese, and I get that. There's a lot of good Japanese metal out there, especially in video games. But you ended in a place where I felt like, oh god, I completely agree with this.
Right.
So good list, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, we say again like the Brutal Legend stuff and Valfaris, which is like that's a European one. That's a UK studio.
I wanted to do this because I think it's important to also just explore metal in terms of not music, in terms of other mediums. Like it has, like we said earlier, it's kind of bled into the culture where there are things that you would just say, oh, that's metal.
Sure, right.
So I think this is something we can come back to in different ways as we do this show, is talking about things that are metal that may not necessarily be metal music.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's really fun. One more thing I wanted to bring up before we move on to our album review. I got a piece of history the other day.
Oh.
I was kindly given the Google Drive link to the original Metalocalypse death game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So someone on Reddit shared it. I'm pretty sure the link's still there if you want to go download it. And I ran it through an Xbox 360 emulator on my computer. And it's almost all there, man. It's almost a complete video game. It's got Death Clock soundtrack. There's a little Guitar Hero thing in the recording studio you can do. You can play the wheelchair video game that William Murderface always plays.
Yeah, on the arcade
which
machine.
is fun as fuck. It's just a really fun game. There's a lot of very cool collector things in the Mordhouse area that you would love if you're a Death Clock fan. And the game is actually very fucking brutal. Like, you're ripping people's heads off and throwing them at people as weapons. You're kicking people, putting the boots to them.
Putting the boots to them.
There's literally, it's like,
style.
press Y to put the boots to them. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, it's so metal. And I thought that I needed to have it because it was a part of history that never happened. And it was almost a myth and like folklore in the Metalocalypse Death Clock universe and like in that community. It was like no one had this game and no one could play it, and you were never going to see it because it was unreleased. They didn't finish the product because it wasn't like up to standard. It's good, but
right.
you can tell where the cracks are. Like the voice acting isn't good. Mm-hmm. There's just parts of it that suck. But as a huge Death Clock Metalocalypse fan, I needed it and I needed to experience it, and I'm so happy with it. Like we put a couple videos on our TikTok,
right,
of us playing the game and like playing the arcade game in it and just stupid stuff like that. I gotta say, like, it's the ultimate nostalgia because it probably got made like right at the end of the first season in part way through the second season.
Yeah, when they realized they had actual like legs behind this thing, but it was just video games. Even then, they're so expensive to make.
It was an Xbox 360 era game, so it wasn't great. You know, it was still very limited, but I love it, man. It's a nice time capsule of history and nostalgia because like you're walking through in the TV, there's like the Mermaider music video,
right, just
like playing in Mordhouse. It's really cool. Charles Oftenson's walking around asking if you're okay and if you need anything, and like. Squizgar's just in the recording studio like jamming the whole time, and Nathan's like eating chips nonstop. Like it's just super fun.
Just eating chips.
And like you have to kill the Revengeancers that are in the show.
Yeah.
And then there's like mutant Revengeancers and all, and you have to fight Dr. Roxo's clown girls. Like it's just super fun. Like there's a lot of fun little things in the game that I think I want to keep sharing on TikTok because I know people are really enjoying it. And I want you to know that if you want the download code to this for your PC, just go to the Metalocalypse subreddit and type in Death Game, and it's on there still. And if it's not on there, if you can't find it anymore, if it got deleted, I can probably get it to you somehow if you message me on Instagram. But dude, it's just such a fun little piece of history, and I keep finding myself replaying it.
Yeah.
Like I beat the boss level, you beat the man with the assassin with the silver mask, like, and then the game's over. But
still, because it wasn't all the way fleshed out. We got this demo.
You get to the end of the game and like music is only in the intro of the level, and then it just stops and there's no music. And you're like, oh, this is awkward. Like they didn't completely finish it
in the dark.
There's times where I'm doing so good at the game that it just crashes because this is still a prototype video game. It's not even a fully released product, so like it has problems. So like I'll be doing really good. There's this whole level where you're on an elevator that continues to go up, and every floor more bad guys come in, kind of like an Arkham Knight situation.
Yeah.
I was doing so well on it. I think I made it like 10 floors, and then the game was like, I'm gonna crash. And I was like,
I'm just gonna. No one's ever made it this far.
Like, I wanna beat this, dude. That just won't let me.
Then Plankton got the secret formula. Like, what are you gonna do now? Plankton is like, I don't know. I never assumed I'd make it this far.
It's gonna be that me one day. But it's really fun, man. Like I said, I think we're gonna keep sharing little tidbits of it on TikTok just for the people that enjoy it.
It's good viral content.
For those of you who've been waiting,
who's gonna be able to play it?
For those of you who've been waiting for us to talk about it, yeah, like here you go. Like totally worth the download. Honestly, it's so awesome, man. You gotta get your hands on this. Again, go to the subreddit Metalocalypse and just look it up. The Death Game. Highly recommend to add this to your collection for any Metalocalypse fan.
Yeah, dude, definitely, man.
Justin,
it's just fun.
It's so much fun. I can't even explain to you how many times I come back to this game just to play the little arcade mini game in it. Like it's so much fun.
Well, you love mini games are like your thing, dude.
They are. They
like
kind of are.
Games within games.
Yeah, I love the inception of a game within a game.
You can't play a fucking single round of Helldivers because you just play Stratagem Hero.
Like, hold on, I have the high score in Stratagem Hero right now. I need to keep going.
None of you need to know what that is. If you do, you do.
It's just my thing, man. I love it so much. But that was just something I wanted to bring up before we get into our next bit.
Yeah.
All right, Dustin, it's time for the album review.
You know it, buddy.
I'm excited. I'm happy because we've been getting into some fun stuff this season already. And it's, I don't know, sometimes album releases are sparse, and sometimes there's a lot of them depending on like what time of year it is. I feel like right now there's not a lot coming out. There's a couple albums here and there that are interesting, but this one really kind of hit me in the face. And it's a band that I looked up before because they did a song called Waste of Tiamat. And,
right.
You know, we have a song about a D&D character, so I was just very into making like a D&D metal playlist.
Sure.
And they came up naturally because of that song. So I was aware of High on Fire, but I did not know like anything about the band, let alone they've been around since '98. Like,
yeah, they've been
long time project.
Big minute. I passively knew about them around the high school era because they had albums. They had 2 albums come out when we were in high school.
Yeah,
2007, 2010. And and again, it makes it sound like a shade. It's never shade. It's just when you're an impressionable kid, you are looking for as many like out of the pocket bands. You want to be the cool kid that you know what I mean. Like, have you guys heard of this band? We're like, no. And then you show them something that fucking hits. I can't remember. I think I might have showed Josh. Josh showed me. Doesn't matter. You know what? It's my podcast. I'm gonna take credit. I
showed Josh Miller.
High on Fire. I remember them then. And granted, even then, they've been road dogging it for years. They aren't afraid to play with a lot of different. I don't want to say styles, but like, they're so
honestly,
learned.
yeah.
They're obviously so learned because like, when we do our production meetings, we're trying to decide like what to review. Do we want to do something like, you know, like someone like we did with Tragic Forms, where they're trying to be on their way up and we're just impressed, or something big that would be like, dude, we were remiss not to bring this up.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of the times then that just means sifting. Mm-hmm. Sifting through albums and a lot of the stuff, you know, it can sound the same.
Yeah,
like, it really can.
Honestly, metal is one of those things where, because it's such a niche thing, it's easy to sound like everybody else.
There's only so many ways to go 3-5-2 on the fucking E string.
Right. This new album from High on Fire is called Cometh the Storm, and I think it's one of those things that really blurs the line between genres.
I'm going to be very clear, because we just went out from that to that. This is why it caught my attention. You guys do not sound like somebody else's. Oh, yeah. No, this is very, even with the staples of the things that I want to hear from not just them, but in music that I enjoy or what I like in my personal taste for music and metal, they don't just do the fucking normal stuff. And what they do that is the normal, like, there's that turnaround, there's that like quick hi-hat, there's that quick two-step, there's like the breaks that we need, the doom metal, the sludge metal stuff. There's a lot of sludgy doom metal, stoner rock, which I thought it's funny they released this on April 19th. Yeah. Like one day before 420, when you're called High on Fire and like a bunch of stoner metal rock songs, like, you know what you did.
It is very much that drawn out doom sound.
Really good.
It's really good. So its own flavor. Like, it is not just the generic slow over and over, and now we're going down, and now we're going slow, and it's got a life of its own.
And honestly, it's a trance.
I look at the album art, and it's this orange like sky clouds with a little bit of lightning and like a pirate ship flying through the sky, and I immediately go, yep, that fits.
That's me.
I feel this way when I listen to this song, and when I listen, or with this album, and some of the songs specifically, I'm like, I could see myself sailing through the skies with these dudes, just fucking going at it on the fucking ship while I'm fantasy driving some crazy Zeppelin machine or something. Like, I could see that. It's so...
I'm rowing.
It's so fun, dude. I love this album so much. And I told you, we were at band practice the other night, and we were trying to decide it was between this and another album. And I said, listen, when I first heard these guys, it was like the first time I heard System of a Down.
Yeah.
And I don't think that because of the way they sound. I think of that because of how unique their sound is.
Yeah.
And because you can't really put a genre on them.
Yeah, they don't sound anything like System of a Down in like most aspects, just to be very clear.
Just in the power of how their music is.
But there is definitely some exactly what you're saying. First of all, I agree. And they do use some like Arabic scale. They use some different playing techniques and mechanisms that we don't see a lot of in American pentatonic heavy metal. 3-5-2, like I was saying. But like, what I got out of this is, first of all, it's 11 songs. It's 57 minutes. Just do the quick math. Those are long songs. They're all above 5 minutes then, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and there's like a 10-minute song at the end of the album.
Right. But there is a thrash song somewhere in there that's like 2 minutes. I don't want to play it and blast anything. I just want to make sure I have the right one, because I think it's this one right here. All I need to do is see the time signature. It's not that one. Maybe that
I
one.
think
it's the beating. The beating is like
that's such a
2.5 minutes, and it's just it's just quick and it's awesome. But it doesn't always have to be that.
I think it's important to talk about like how the album progresses. So the first two songs are Lamb's Bread and Burning Down, and Burning Down is obviously the single of this album. It's the one that's performing the best. They put a music video out for it. They're really pumping this one out. Like, this song is a good representation of the entire album. And a little fun fact, we were playing a show a couple weeks ago. This was in April when we had all those crazy shows. But we were playing one in Council Bluffs at Maloney's, and they have that green room in the basement. It's like a really crazy basement with a decent green room where you're like, okay, I can just hang out here and chill. And Jake came down, we were just hanging out, and I could tell he kind of needed a pump up. Yeah. So I played Burning Down, and we were just like drinking beers and chilling. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this is the kind of shit you put on for this moment. And he's like, yeah, I'm feeling it. Like,
it's starting to get pumped.
That was right when I found out about this album, and I'd only listened to like 3 songs, but once it starts out with those 2 songs, and it very much in those first 2 songs tells you what it's about. And it's like, this is the album. And then the next 2 songs into Cometh the Storm are very like of that nature, but a little bit different. But once you get to, I'm gonna butcher it. It's another language. I don't know how to fucking say it. Karen Nelik Yol.
Sure.
It is the 5th track on the album. That is completely just an interlude of this crazy Middle East guitar kind of solo thing. Yeah, it's very just like meant to be a not a filler, but a palate cleanser for the next part of the album. It's meant to go, okay, here's what we've given you. We're going to take you somewhere else real quick, and then we're going to put you somewhere completely different. And the next 2 songs into The Beating and Tough Guy, after Soul's Golden Curse, but The Beating and the Tough Guy is where I really noticed they're going for this very subtle East Coast hardcore slam beatdown kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's what grabbed me the hardest.
Yeah, and I knew that once you got to that part of the album, you were going to be like, ooh.
Yeah.
Because it really kind of switches the tempo and it puts the beats in a different purpose. And one thing about this album is I got to give credit to the drummer.
No,
like, amazing. God, the drums in this album are so dynamic. And it's like, I hear things and I'm like, oh my God, like that fill is something I don't think I've heard before, or it's something completely different from what I would have thought would go there. So like,
yeah, all these guys are very complementary to each other.
Yeah.
Again, the vocals, when they're like big and haunting, they're very vibrant and present.
Don't you kind of almost get like a Lemmy feel from it?
The whole time, absolutely.
Like it's like this haunting, like it's not Lemmy, but it could be his like younger brother or some shit. Yeah, like or ghost or like reincarnation for some fucking
There's a
reason.
lot of that like rasp that kind of
it's that roadhousey raspiness, but then it does switch up eventually, and there are some like more guttural moments. Like it gets a little deeper, so I like that.
Yeah, and like again, I think these guys are all very complimentary to each other while they're playing. Like they know the mix. Obviously, a lot of that when you're listening to it is mixing and production and mastering, sure. But like you obviously can imagine when you're as learned as these guys are, to use that term again, it translates live.
Yeah.
And what I've been able to discern from listening to this whole album so far is that, again, like when the vocals need to be like big and wide and haunting, they're there. When they need to be raspy and not necessarily buried, but like needs to be like almost like another guitar because they're just pushing, is there. And where the guitars are, I turn my bass up a little bit in my car a little because I got an SUV, so like I like to pump it from the back, so it's got like big resonance, almost like a little auditorium in there. And it was full, it was huge, and the drumming. Man, I can't say enough about the drumming. Like I said, guitar tone, it just sounded like this big, like terrifying amount of fuzz. I'm not exactly sure because I'm really not I'm a bass player. I'm not like the biggest pedal guy. Yeah,
but it honestly like gives you kind of, and I'm going to say this, not in the way that I think most people would think when they get the reference, but it's very Beast Eagle.
Yeah.
Like it's very, if you've heard of that band, we've played with them like 5 times. Great band from Omaha, Nebraska. It's very Beast Eagle of Orange Fuzz. Like you could see Beast Eagle opening for these guys.
Oh, 100%.
And I love that.
And I would tell them, like, if it came down to people, I'd be like, fuck, I really want this spot, but you know what's going to be a better show?
Yeah.
Them. So for this, because they're so close to that.
If you're listening to this, and Dusty, also yourself, I want you to look up the album right now and look down the track list. And I want you to imagine this. So I depending on the type of music, I reference music with shapes and emotions. So this album to me felt like a half pipe. Lamb's Bread was dropping in, Burning Down was getting faster and going towards the middle. By the time you get to Cometh the Storm in the next song, you're speeding through the middle and getting the speed wobbles, and then all the way up to Darker Fleece, you're fucking getting air on the other side, and that's the 10-minute song.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about this album. It's a very smooth half pipe transition on a skateboard.
Yeah.
And it feels like it would fit that. By the time you get to Lightning Beard and Hunting Shadows,
it's like artistic of you.
It shows what the first half did, but it's like a whole nother mechanism driving it. Like the only way I can describe it is if you took the feeling of the first album and you flipped it polar opposite, but it still had the same rules applied to it.
Sure.
And then once you get to Darker Fleece, it's like 9 minutes 53 seconds. It's like the feelings I get from listening to Dream Widow from Dave Grohl, like that very like lost in the trance sludge doom with a little bit of gallop and a little bit of pickup behind it. Like,
right.
It's a very cohesive blend of not just multiple genres, but multiple styles within genres. Like, you can tell not only are these guys learned, but they grasp from multiple toolkits to do this, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the artistry behind making a full-length album and thinking about how it resonates and it flows and like the whole thing moves as one unit, but it still promotes this theme and this idea, and I think they really nailed it with this one.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah, no, I'm stoked on this album. Again, we don't rate things here because it's, you know, it's all subjective. You can do that on your own if you
10 out of 10.
If you want to, go ahead on your own. But yeah, no, this is something that I've saved a few songs out of, and I've followed them now and gave them another listener and all that kind of stuff. Like, all the one more number in the generator, but I definitely added it, followed them. I like their page, all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, this is the kind of stuff you're looking for. It's why you promote your shit, and that's what we're here doing. So
anybody from High on Fire, if you're ever listening to this or one of your fans shows you this show, we'd love to talk to you. We love your music.
We'd love to hear some stuff from behind the years, because like I said, admittedly, I mean, like, we're 30-year-old guys, but like at the same time, you know, if it's been around since we were kids and we found you around the middle portion of that, we're not just begging live on the air, but honestly, anybody that of that caliber, if you've been doing this for a long time, or if you're, again, reach out to the show. You can reach out on all of our socials. That's how a lot of us like do our stuff, but specifically anybody that we've reviewed on our albums, of course, if there's anybody out there that, while we're growing as a show, that wants to help us out or hook us up, if you hear this,
we'd love to talk. It'd be awesome, dude.
We're gonna make like a firm like email eventually, I believe, but right now, just because we're kind of, again, we're only like 3 episodes in, we just got a contract for our first season. We're hoping to expand to YouTube after that. That kind of stuff is how you help grow the show. So please, if you are listening, again, I know it sounds like YouTuber bullshit. We're not even on YouTube. Hit the 5 stars on the thing. Give us a positive review. Like, share, subscribe.
It would really mean the world to us.
It's how we can get advertisers and people to notice it in like these first beginning areas. Like, I mean, fuck, even people like Tom Segura's podcast, Two Bears with Bert Kreischer. Like, you go back, and if you're bored and you binge, the first like 20 episodes did not have sponsors. Because and even at that level, you got to prove yourself. And now they're the biggest thing walking. But like, at any point, how we can get there is, again, I don't want to make this a big thing every time, but since we're now getting into a few episodes in, we've seen such great response. The best thing you can do is literally just hit that little Facebook like button.
Or go to Spotify or Apple or anywhere you listen to us and just review us. And let people know what you love about it. 5 stars. I'll say this: if it's not a 5-star review, feel free to message us on Instagram. Tell us what we can do to be better. We'd love to hear your feedback.
We're learning, we're pushing, and we just like having fun. We're based here in Omaha, and again, shout out to Hurdat Media for being able to produce us and help us out. And
there's someone at Hurdat that's going to listen to this and be like, "Stop shouting us out. We get it. You're on Hurdat." No, we will never stop shouting you out. We love you. We're the weirdos in school, and we love that you invited us to the party.
No, we're very grateful that we get to do this at any level, in any capacity, and again, from a ground roots level, that's the easiest way to do that. And I try and do that. Like, I literally, as we were doing this, I realized that I wasn't followed to High on Fire on Spotify.
I gotta do that.
I was on other socials, and I've liked a couple of their songs, but I just did it.
Man, I'm so excited for this show. We have a lot of cool stuff cooking. I have a whole it's like, you remember Charlie from Always Sunny with Pepe Sylvia? I'm
connecting the dots.
Yeah, I have a whiteboard in my office, like right outside my office, and I put
Pepe's not even real
sticky notes up, and I put like lines to stuff, and like, here's possible interviews and sponsorships to go after, and all these plans we have. I will say, as of right now, I think we have about 6 interviews confirmed and waiting to be scheduled. Dustin, can we tell them one of the interviews? Can we just spill one? Let's just leak one that's coming out.
I'll let you pick which one. It's your coffin.
Okay.
Because there's some that are regional and like local to us that people are going to be excited about. There's some that are national that are really fucking big.
I'll say one that you're like, oh my God, that's pretty crazy. And then one that's like, oh, okay.
You get one.
I only get one?
You get one.
Ah, fuck. The band See You Next Tuesday.
Yes.
We will have them on.
That's where I was hoping you were going.
Yeah, the grindcore aficionados that have honestly paved their way into a whole new genre. It's fucking wild.
That, and they never, I would say, don't call it a comeback kind of thing, because it didn't seem like they never
really went anywhere, but God, did they seriously amp it up.
Yeah, and they're hitting like this yo, you're becoming very popular. Household, not just like.
They're blowing up on Instagram.
They were big in 2008 to 12, and when I was in high school, there was a couple of those albums coming out, and then still been chugging away, never stopped. Things come and things go. It's determination and it's will, and we're lucky enough that we're still getting confirmation on exactly who, what, when, where, and what episode it'll be in. But
we have 6 confirmed, and those are all needed to be scheduled for later next month from obviously from this recording, but you guys are hearing things later in time, so you don't know what the fuck's going on.
Doesn't matter.
You just need to know that we got some cool shit coming season 1 and even bigger stuff cooking in the future. I appreciate every single one of you for listening. Thank you guys for being such a metal listenership. Dusty, any final words for the people?
Listen to metal every day.
God damn it. All right, get out of here.
A Huda Media Production.